Well, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's morning devotional. I'm Mike, and the passage we are considering today is Mark 4, verses 21 to 25. I don't see any raised eyebrows, so I presume I've got the right one. That's good. So I'll read it. I'm using a New Living Translation, I think. Then Jesus asked them, "Would anyone light a lamp and then put it under a basket or under a bed?" Never heard of a lamp going under a bed. Of course not. A lamp is placed on a stand where its light will shine for everything that is hidden will eventually be brought into the open, and every secret will be brought to light. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. Then he added, "Pay close attention to what you hear. The closer you listen, the more understanding will be given, and you will receive even more. To those who listen to my teaching, more understanding will be given. But for those who are not listening, even what little understanding they have will be taken away from them." Okay, sorry about the hiccups on the reading there. I've actually put the reading in italics and it's not very easy to read, so that wasn't a very good idea. This is about being seen and being transparent. So, let's first consider what you do with a light. You switch a light on to light a room or a space. So I think we're agreed on that, yes? So let's state the obvious. I've just stated the obvious. Putting a light under a box or a basket defeats the object of having a light in the first place. So why bother putting a light on if you're going to hide it away? It's a waste of power and it's pointless, or even pointless celebrities if you prefer watching that program. Putting a light under a box or a bed in those days, I'm guessing, would be a dangerous thing to do. I'm assuming that the light in those days was a naked flame or something along those lines, and that would easily spread to the surrounding areas. These were the days before LED lights and fluorescent lights. So what you are trying to hide by concealing the light under a bed or under a basket could suddenly burst into the open as the flames spread, producing a disaster, and in the end, much more light than you were trying to hide. As I move on to this talk, you'll know that I work for an American company, and I was with one of the American guys was over, and he saw this sign, naked flame, no naked flame. And he said, "What on earth does that mean?" He said, "How can you have a flame that doesn't have clothes on?" They had never heard the expression naked flame before. They had no idea what it meant. But anyway, that's an aside. So what I see here, as I read this, was a positive and a negative in this passage. So let's deal with the negative first. And the negative is about secrets. Secrets that you may have, or I may have, but not secret to God. God sees everything, as that passage says. So many politicians and famous people get caught out when trying to keep secrets, and they eventually get exposed by the press or whatever, and the light they were trying to hide suddenly bursts into flames, and it's a lot worse than it would have been had they not tried to keep it a secret in the first place. So to illustrate this, this is where the talk becomes a little bit X-rated, okay? So I'll warn you about that. As I said already, I formerly worked for an American insurance company called St. Paul's Insurance, who were next door to an even more illustrious company called Black & Veatch in Red Hill. The company is now known as Travellers, but it's still on the same site opposite the Memorial Park. Anyway, in the late 1990s, I was a network engineer at the firm, and I was sent to various far-flung locations around the world. And at these far-flung locations, various things used to happen. For instance, I ended up in Botswana at one point, and I was offered a prostitute in a hotel. That sort of thing happened. I declined it. Okay, I'll hasten to add. But anyway, I went on a visit to Mexico City, and I was accompanied by a systems analyst who was a respectable middle-aged man with 2 children, but was known to have a wilder side. And his job was to look after me when I was in Mexico City. Well, things were going fine until he invited me out to a club. And I should have known better. I should have realized what was going to happen. But the club turned out to be a strip club. So I ended up in this club with lots of naked women around the place. And I had no way of getting out of it, because you're in Mexico City. You can't just walk back to the hotel. And I just felt awful. It was a dreadful night. I've never told this story before. And I was worried about what I was going to say to Pam when I got home, that I'd been in a strip club. But the first thing I did when I got back to the hotel was to say to God, I'm sorry for what's happened here, because, I felt quite ashamed about what had happened. And I had a guilty secret. I'd been involved in this club. And I knew that guilty secrets very rarely remain secret. And God can see them. Now, the interesting footnote to this story was that the chap who took me to this club actually took a girl home back to the hotel room, but he accidentally left her calling card in his suit jacket. So when he got home, his wife found it. So he was found out. So he was proof that you can't, in the end, hide from these things. I understood something that night, and I vowed never to get in that situation again. Other less wise people end up in all sorts of trouble because they just don't know when to stop. Jesus says in this passage, pay close attention to what you hear. The closer you listen, the more understanding you will be given, and you will receive more. Now, I understood something that night. I understood that I shouldn't get involved in that situation ever again. And that was in the late 1990s, by the way, so quite a while ago. To those who listen to my teaching, more understanding will be given. I felt I had more understanding about what to do and not what to do after that happened. And that's stayed with me ever since. So pay close attention and understand. Lights under a box rarely remain hidden. They burst into flames. Looking at all of you, I'm doubting that anything I've said so far has any application whatsoever. And I'm very pleased about that, if that's the case. If not, please do something about it. Please come before God in the privacy of your home or with a close friend, etc. Clearly, a prayer time on this theme is not going to be very productive. But let's move on to the positive. A light on a stand also speaks of shining out for Jesus. And here's the other purpose of a shining light. It is to demonstrate God's peace in a turbulent world. We are about to go into a lockdown again, if reports are to be believed. Maybe from tomorrow, maybe next week. There are many distressed and worried people around us. The holiday for paying rent and mortgages ends this week. So anyone whose job is in jeopardy or lost their job is suddenly going to have to worry about their accommodation. How many people are there out there who are in this situation? Now, I work part-time for CDA. I think most of you know that. And our job in CDA is to be a light and hope to just those kinds of people. Also, we have ourselves being a light to our friends. We have West Central that seeks to shine a light in its new guise. So let's pray for the relaunch of West Central, that that's a success. So, what time is it? Nearly 7:30. So, the prayer, as we come to prayer, there are 3 questions here. Where is your light shining right now? If the light is turned to you, what would it reveal? In other words, what is God seeing that the rest of us aren't seeing? And thirdly, is there anyone or any situation to whom you are particularly shining your light upon at the moment? Is there a friend or a family member, etc., who you are a light to right now, a light on a stand? And that's where I want to conclude that here.